Yeah. It's okay. We get cows come up to the window while we're working, and it's like, oh shit.
I'm here with Jason, CEO of S Squared. Sorry. I'm here with Jason, CEO of R Squared, and we're sitting inside their 3D printed house. What's going on, Jason? Good to see you.
Hey man, good to see you again.
I want to talk to you about how you guys completed this project, and with your Black Buffalo printer. There's even an extra Black Buffalo printer here. That's pretty cool. Maybe we can talk about that a bit.
Absolutely.
Hopefully my dog will relax and not be right next to the mic throughout the whole podcast. But where should we begin?
Oh goodness. You tell me. There's so many places I could take us on, many tangents. I don't know, really. Do you want to start with printer? Like how we selected the printer, or how we did the build, or do you want to just limit it to this?
I kind of want to start again so that he's not breathing right in the mic.
No sweat. No sweat. We got a good practice start here.
Okay. Dane, go outside, buddy. Hang out outside for a while. Go play. Go play with the cows. Make some friends.
I'd say get him a stick, but he'll just bring it back.
Go play, buddy. Go play. I'm here with Jason, CEO of R Squared in Staples, Texas, Midland technically. And you guys have printed your first house here. We're sitting inside of it. Congratulations on this project. Really looking forward to asking some questions about it. Thanks for taking the time with me today.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad to have you here.
So what really made you decide it was time to change the game in construction and bring this technology to your region?
So many things. I think for a lot of people, the most recent marker in a significant change in most people's lives has been the pandemic. We were building during the pandemic, finished our last project, stick build project in March of 2021. Started to go in and work on the numbers, and living in Austin, seeing how the prices were increasing. It just, finding our exits, calculating this while also seeing that we're increasing the price, not only for ourselves and, in order to make a living, passing it on, which is unfortunately mostly the case. And so the pandemic afforded us the opportunity to take a step back, take a look at the business we were doing and the people we were helping or building for, and if we were really doing any good.
So that building you constructed in March, what was that?
It was it's one of the more disliked elements of Austin. It's density. Oh, no. It's detached duplex under a condo regime. It has a B unit. It's what used to be an ADU that was your mother-in-law in the back now has a person on the back side of your lot, living there with a new address, coming in and out of a shared space. Yeah,
ADUs are really popular in California. They passed a lot of legislation about that.
Well, it's good, in practice, it's not working out all that great, but in theory, more density brings the cost down. You can find maybe some better places, find some homes that mostly we were doing infill, which are onesie twosies, and it just, scrutinizing that, I would much rather figure out how we can use the wall structure here in the system to build it, how to save overall.
Yeah, for sure. When you were doing that project, were there labor challenges, or was it really easy to find all in Austin?
I got really lucky. Thankfully, the subs that we had working were dedicated and diligent, and they were good at setting time restrictions on themselves and their work, and really keeping the flow going. As a matter of fact, a couple of my friends or colleagues who were building around the same time took about 4 to 6 months longer on their build than we did, due to delays, and we were only probably 1.5 miles, 2 miles from each other.
Yeah, you've definitely set yourself up to be adaptable, like with these windows, being able to accept different sizes. Some groups had to wait periods of a month or two to get custom sized windows, so that adaptability really benefits your schedules.
Well, the way we see it is you can now with the ability to know exactly how far your distances are and dial in your calculations, you can get exactly the right size window, or you can frame it out like you said, just like this, and fit it to maybe a different price point, right? Something like this, which we intend to start designing for transitional housing, homeless housing, stuff like that. We can bring in the box, or if we're putting it in a beautiful open space like we are now, and you've got picturesque views and you want to have a big window, bam, we throw a big window in there.
Mm-hmm. And so you got this printer, and I know you were really excited to get it. I'm sure Black Buffalo was excited to ship it to you.
Absolutely.
It wasn't everything you were hoping for. There were some adjustments. They had to send some replacement parts.
Yeah, so there had been some shipping errors, quality control on the front end, but Black Buffalo, to their credit, has sent out a great team. George Perry and Christian Merkel and Peter and George are all great. You know, they've answered questions. They've made it a possibility for us to continue moving forward despite these challenges that have come from just one simple mistake on the front end.
Yeah, from my visits, I've seen, I wouldn't hold it against the company to have an issue like that because it's a new technology. Things are, there's, I'm sure even updates that they're working on that aren't available yet, they're going to bring out in the next 6 months, a year, who knows. And so it's more about how they remedy it rather than the problem coming up.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, you could double down and let your customer service fall to the wayside if someone's having trouble. Or you can step in and, Black Buffalo, Ventures, Mape have all stepped in to make right some of the early mistakes that we ran into that were machine and material related.
And you mentioned the Mape material. It's pretty good to work with, but you were maybe wondering if there were cheaper alternatives or looking at cheaper alternatives you had mentioned.
Well, compared to going and picking up even a pallet of Quikrete, you're looking at probably still $120 savings on having that pallet versus the bag. But the reality is the cost is not where it needs to be right now for that material because it is a proprietary material and the people using it right now are less.
It's good that it has the certifications because in some areas where you need permits, that's going to really make the project possible. But
Absolutely.
In an area like this house, you don't need a permit, so it's a little over-engineered potentially for your circumstance.
For this house, absolutely. But again, this house was meant to be our workshop house for folks to come out here and get a hands-on tradesfolk, inspectors to see what the inside of the wall looks like. We can print in front of the house for them in a space that's not confined by a warehouse or in the city or tied to a corporate event. We're just come on out. We're setting up calendar update or slots soon.
Yeah, that's cool. So the people haven't come out yet since I was here last?
We've had our event. We had a few investors come out here and take a look at it. That's always great.
Contractors, subcontractors?
We've had some subcontractors. We've had some folks from Spa Glass. We had a really great guy, Mark Knudsen from Jobs to Build, came out here and told us a little bit about what they have, which is a fantastic way to educate and employ or at least give an internship to tradesfolk coming out of whatever trade technical school, in an effort to make that look like a long-term solution, right? Long-term career, instead of just something that you do to get by until you get back in the office,
It's labor specifically or 3D printed labor?
Labor specifically right now, but I think we're not college educated. We're all raised by tradesmen. We're all, job site kids that grew up to be, project managers and stuff like that. So, and we can do this, right? So if we can do it, we can definitely teach someone else to do it, or to utilize their knowledge coming out of school and how to apply that to the 3D printed wall for now.
Yeah, for sure. I don't see why not. You guys learned it pretty quickly, and yeah, why wouldn't you be able to pass it on? And that's really optimistic for the future of the industry, because it'll just multiply the number of people that are participating and printing projects around. So the subcontractors that visited, did any of them have anything unique to say that kind of surprised you, or?
I think the idea flow that came from it, especially with the windows and the door framing, and how we can get ahead of those when we're putting in the box to secure, under the lintel to secure the and support the weight of the print beads that are going across the top. Having those guys out here and brainstorming, okay, well, how do we connect this to the concrete? How do we maintain the thermal break by adding certain elements in the wall as we're going along? How do we reduce the requirement for HVAC unit size? How do we make it more energy efficient? There's a lot of really good flow, and thankfully our engineer and our architect came out here also, and they were both chattering away in the corner, talking about different things that now that they've seen it, right? They put their hands on it and they've seen their design come to life.
Are these ideas proprietary, or you can share any of them?
I don't think anything really here is proprietary. We did the columns for the four corners to add support. We have a support here in the corner, or in the rounded corner, and then on the outside to help maintain that.
So how wide is the support?
Well, we were a little concerned going off of the turn,
Sure.
and putting the roof out without a support here.
Mm-hmm.
On an unstable foundation,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's road based. We packed that we printed on so that we could show, one, that we can do it, and two, you can do it too, and that you can come out and work on this with tools you already have in your tool belt. So when we did that, when we were engineering, we were getting a little silly, and we're like, okay, well, let's do a little loop around and then fill in the corner. And so we've decided now we may end up doing 3, depending on how big the corner or the rounded edge
So
is.
it's not filled yet?
It's not filled. Well, the pillar is filled, but the corner's not filled.
And where's the pillar starting at?
It's about right here.
How wide?
It is, so the interior is 6 inches. So it's probably right up on the inside, 6 inches, maybe 5 3/4, something like that.
So fairly small.
Fairly small.
One-story structure.
One-story structure. The walls are already load-bearing. The support in there helps maintain that. We're trying to find the balance between filling the wall completely and adding pillared support or additional support across the spanses of the walls, or longer stances of the walls.
Will that be your decision, or municipalities potentially?
It all comes down to whatever they'll approve, right?
Yeah.
We always start with the codes and the standards that are already in place, work our edges there with the municipality, with the engineer, with the architect, and try and avoid this back and forth, right? I think eventually we'll get to the point where we come in, okay, this is the data, this is the numbers. We've already done a concrete test in both places, both where the material was manufactured and mixed, brought to us, our testing, and all of that data that you can hand over. And
yeah, that almost comes back to education. You have to educate the municipality so they know how to approve these projects.
That's exactly what we're doing. Fortunately, we have already started those conversations. They're a little slow to come out. I think it's a far drive, but
And it's a permitting department.
And it's a permitting department, right? So releasing people, especially in this area, the growth out here in Martindale is in the surrounding Maxwell, Fentress, San Marcos is really starting to grow. So they're getting bogged down.
He jumped in the pond.
Yeah, I did.
Go back in the pond, buddy. Oh no. Come on. Go ahead.
He wanted to share a little bit of the pond with us.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right. So where were we? You got the other printer over there. Are you gonna build that yourself, or will they send people out to assemble it for you?
So, again, to their credit, they're sending out a team of 3. They're going to come out here and help us set it back up.
Is it much different than the setup of this one?
No, it's almost exactly the same. They've made some modifications in the control unit and have learned from some of the
wiring
trial and
guys you had
error.
out there.
I believe, I forget the company that they were working with the wiring, but it looks like there's new connections both inside the control unit and over on each of the junction boxes on the axes.
So weren't you intending on dismantling this printer and reassembling it yourself?
Yes. We were waiting to finalize some of our negotiations on kind of remedying the supply chain and the quality control, right, the transportation stuff. So in finalizing that, now it's wait until Christmas is over. I've got a newborn, so it's been definitely a lot busier on that end. Thank you. And it's given us the opportunity. We can take apart and put together this machine a ton of times, but I can do that on my own. Not on my own. I can come out here and do this with me and Chris. But in having the entire team come out here and do it all together, that's what I'm really looking for. And so we missed a few of those pieces over the last month and a half since we did the event.
Nothing's better than reps.
Yeah. We, you train as you fight is what they told us in the military, and how we really believed we needed to work. And so, if we train, we know how to do this thing, we know this thing intimately, we'll be able to work on and adjust easier.
For sure. Which is definitely something you'll be doing. But
oh man,
it's a good thing that you'll be like the leaders in the region when it comes to this technology. So any of the changes and updates that are coming, you'll be the first to get the benefits of them.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And the thankful for the collaboration and the other teams that are building all over the United States right now, and the world really, but domestically, with codes, municipality, working with customers to try and adopt a completely new construction method, at least for the walls now, but as it translates and spreads to the rest of the house, it's been really nice to have that.
Yeah.
Region to region build. Ours was hot, man. We printed to test this out in 102 degrees. The top end, I think, on this material is 95 degrees, but we had a decent humidity that day, so it kind of justified it. Just pushing the limits, testing what we can do with it. You can tell in certain spots, especially on the smaller things we printed, not here, but outside, they're more brittle. You can tell that hydration has happened and it much faster, especially with the tabletop and the wind out here.
Maybe a little more generosity with the chemical post spray.
For sure. These are all things, we watched your videos for a long time, and every single person that has transitioned from their first house to their second house, or used the printer for any time, any length of time, and then moved on to another, that leap is amazing. It's like a moon jump, man. It's just right over, and it's been exciting. It's a challenge. It's a lot of growth, I think, in the whole company, or the company as a whole, and myself. And
yeah, that's so true what you said. I mean, I've seen it so many times, different companies, the first house compared to the second house, it's night and day.
Yeah, we were definitely feeling like we were getting tugged down by the water, out in the deep ocean, but now it's like, all right, we're walking out Aquaman style. We're starting to feel really good,
Some of those challenges are the best part, because if it was easy, you'd have to be looking back over your shoulder the whole time. You'll have so much competition coming after you, but it's not that easy, so they'll have to go through some challenges as well if they want to compete.
For sure. I mean, we started in the same way when we first started looking at this almost 2 years ago, looking at it and saying, what? Maybe we can look at this in like 3 or 4 years, and then boom, it has really started to explode here in the U.S. I think there's 5 in Texas now. There's 15 domestically that are
companies, houses. What do you mean?
Companies, right?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Printed companies. A few in California. I know we've got 5 here in Texas.
It's a lot more than that.
Florida.
The Texas, you're right about that, but there's more than 15 in the States.
Is there? Okay. Well, we really only get to see what you or focusing on what you're putting out and then kind of whatever.
You're in the automation nation, so you have access to the list.
Oh, you know what? Perfect. We'll go ahead and take a look.
What I haven't done is itemized it by location yet. I have to, there's a few different columns and I gotta fill them all out. Right now it's just a list of 97. I have a master list of 350, but that was just every company that ever mentioned anything about printing. So some of them built printers, some of them bought printers, some of them were architecture companies, materials companies. And I finally kind of organized it out, got the printer manufacturers, 97 different printer manufacturers.
Wow, that is amazing. That really is, kind of blows my mind.
It's
I was
more
thinking
than
I
I
was shooting
identified.
under like 25. Not, yeah.
I found more printer manufacturers than customers.
Wow.
If you don't include universities, which I don't know. I should, I guess, but I'm more interested in the business projects.
Well, like you said, decentralization of the construction industry is really going to help innovation anyway. And even if we lose a few, I'd like to think that the barrier to entry is a benefit in maintaining the quality of the builds.
Relatively, it's a low barrier to entry if you compare to prefab or other methods to build a house.
Yeah, well, you got your, for the most part, in most of these, especially in the gantry system, you got a mobile production system anyway. So definitely better than having a warehouse and multiple stations of production.
Yeah, I'd really like the decentralization aspect too, because it doesn't, I don't know, it's like freedom, and it's, if people are independently able to bring this technology into towns that aren't really popular, maybe don't have a big labor force. Texas usually does, but a lot of places don't.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we are definitely bountiful in our tradesmen, but a lot of those tradesmen had decided during pandemic times that, you know, how we are essential to get the job done, but we're also working ourselves way too hard.
And you need those tradesmen now to figure out how to implement all the trades, like you were saying, SOPs.
Yeah. You know, you really can't beat those years and decades or just years of on-site experience.
Generations
seeing
sometimes.
Generations, exactly. All this stuff being passed down. And you see it in, you know, I follow these architectural digests or some article that pops up in somebody I'm following on LinkedIn about how these lost technologies and ways, pyramids, for example, potentially made tens of thousands of years ago instead of only, you know, I don't know how long, but you know, that they still, modern day engineers still can't figure it out. There's buildings in New York, bridges that engineers can't figure out how it is still standing 100 years later.
Yeah, I saw a funny video on LinkedIn from a guy, one of the developers from a project in Long Island, and he said, what's going to last longer, the pyramids or 3D printed houses? We're going to find out. It's like, how are we going to find out?
Yeah.
If we find out, that means it must have been the pyramids, because we're not going to see I'm not going to be around to see the end of the pyramids, I don't think.
No, I don't think anybody is. I mean, as much as the landscape changes in the desert and those pyramids are still there, I think they'll be around for a while.
But yeah, these houses should be solid. Despite that, this one has a pretty close expiration date, right? Relative.
It does. We're hoping to demo it clean and kind of put this farmland back together the way it was by mid-February.
The demolition is Texas style, I heard.
Oh yeah. You know, we're gonna come out here. Thankfully, we're in the relatively middle of nowhere, no neighbors for, I don't know, probably half a mile in either direction. So we're gonna come out here. We're gonna put it through ballistics tests. We're gonna put it through fire tests, and then once this thing is charred all the way up, we're gonna spray it down, and we're gonna show you that the wall is still intact. And then after we've gone through, basically we've squeezed this thing all the way down as far as we can, we're gonna blow it up.
And so the other printer will be assembled after Christmas?
Yeah, it'll be assembled after Christmas. Actually, after the first of the year. We're gonna assemble that one and have this one running, the second one running our event demonstrations, have folks come out, you know, anybody who's interested in seeing how the inside of the walls look, that don't want to get up on a ladder. And then we have probably about 4 months, and we're moving it 4 to 6 months, and then we're moving it across the street and starting to do production on a pretty nice little neighborhood here in Martindale.
Yeah, nice. 70 something units you mentioned? 72?
We got 100 taps. My hope is to hit close to that number. I don't want to suffocate out here, even with 1 acre lots. It is still a lot tighter than folks are used to out in this area.
So are there conditions, like, so let's say we talked a little bit about the cost thing earlier, and I know you mentioned you believe that it's continuing to get cheaper enough that it will be cheaper maybe at a certain point in that 100 homes?
Well,
not necessarily.
I think in that 100 homes, absolutely. Like you said, the more we do this and the more times you go through this process, you learn each and every time. Mm-hmm. Production builders, volume builders, those guys started with a few houses, and they learned how to do it really efficiently, build relationships to do it more efficiently over time and scale. So we're hoping to do the same thing. Take what we've learned on each house. We'll take what we've learned on this house and what we've learned through your videos and through other folks in this industry that we've spoken to. And
printing yourself, of course.
Printing ourselves, of course,
one.
Yeah. And then sending all that back to our build, engineer, and design team together. And of course, getting customer feedback, that's always really important. But how we can get these guys to communicate early and make a better house without all of the architect designed this, but we can't build it. Oh man, that's not realistic, this side or the other. We can hopefully eliminate a lot of those issues by integrating those people early in the deal, as well as the customer can print out exactly what you're wanting.
Are any of the homes spoken for yet?
Any of the homes, 2 of them are. Some family members are really interested in picking those up, but we'll see how everything flushes out. It's probably going to take us, it's going to take us some time.
Oh yeah.
I don't want to set a good time projection because I'll probably miss it. But it's going to take some time. So we'll see how their feelings are when we get there. But
there's no rush. I mean, You said it yourself. The technology, you're learning so much right now. So why would you rush yourself while you're still learning a ton? Maybe, I'm sure your 100th home will be better than your first, but especially if it's going to family, you want to know that you're going to do a really kick-ass job.
Absolutely. I mean, we want to truly sell and build a home that we would build for our family also, so that's a good start. But I would much rather build something that they want instead of something that is suited to fit the neighborhood or subdivision that we're building on maybe a bigger plot of land also for these guys. So
what size homes are you going to start with?
We're looking to capture a starter home with a ranch style look, 1,200 to 1,900 square feet on anywhere between a half acre to an acre lot, with satellite accessory units on the outside.
Nice. And do you have any idea? I mean, it's going to be a while till you build them, so the market's going to shift. But what kind of price point you're trying to hit?
That is a really good question. I think our goal and what it'll be are probably there's a wide gap in between those.
I appreciate that qualifier. Very honest. That's just how it is. That's construction. The material cost could change. The lumber cost could change. A million things could change by then.
The thing I know we are willing to do is to share the savings where they are with the consumer.
Sure.
Right? I grew up in a small house. My grandfather was a builder. In building myself and seeing other builds in town, where you're penny pinching and you're trying to suck every dollar out of that thing so you can do another project, and that's great, it works out well, but it really is exhausting, not only for you, but it also exhausts the housing market. It exhausts people's patience and their pocketbook, so I don't have an exact number for it just yet, just because we're in the early stages of that development over there.
Yeah, sure. I wouldn't expect you to.
But I would say if everything works out to my hope, we're looking to sell anywhere between 175, 250, and 325 for the 3 plans.
It's good to have ambitious targets.
It is really ambitious, and what gives me hope that is a reality or a potential reality is that the walls, while it is just a 3D printed wall, and this is the only part that we're able to handle, what it does is takes parts of the dance and makes it easier, reduces the number of starts, stops in labor, in potential, people get sick, people's families have a need for that labor, that tradeswoman person to go out, to stay home instead of going out on the job, right? So all of these potential delays that are tied to human behavior or our limitations, I think we can fill some of those gaps with what we do with the wall structure, reducing, let's say, the 9 layers it takes from drywall to siding, and reduce that down to 3. And in doing that, we save time, we save error, we save in our side, but also in the consumer side with energy efficiency, cost reduction in need for power, well, not necessarily powering the house, but in powering that equipment and also the use of that equipment or the need of that equipment.
Yeah, I think it's important that more people talk about 3D printed construction and from a mature perspective like you're sharing now, in a way that we believe the industry is going to make construction cheaper. And I believe that deeply. I think you believe that deeply. But it's you have to talk about it in the right tenses. And I think people can be very upset if they become misled.
For sure.
And even you mentioned you watched my videos. There were still surprises, not that you were misled, but things you weren't expecting that weren't fully clear to you before you actually got in there.
Well, for sure. And, it's, you're out cataloging and journaling for, all of these, but you don't get to see how the sausage is made always, right? So
I only get to print on rare occasions.
Right. The CBay printer, your course was really good one.
I see how most of the sausage is made. Not the materials getting mixed together, I guess, unless it's an on-site batch plant.
Well, I guess the budget, and I don't know if this is something
true.
that you get to see, right? What's the schedule for the windows? What's the schedule for our framing, and what our timelines are, and what are the finishes out for the customer?
I don't really ask for it often because if they were proud of it, they would show me themselves.
Yeah. This is the beauty, right? Because this is what gives me the confidence is that, sure, right now, the curved wall may be a little difficult to get furniture in there, but it's also a whole lot easier to finish out and plaster.
That's a choice.
Right, and it's a choice. The furniture, now we can be on the forefront of creating furniture, creating fixtures and framing elements or build elements, right, that we can do with the printer or that we can do as the technology improves.
Yeah, I mean, you could imagine in the future, not too far away, there would be some app somebody can download, design a house, the model gets sent to you, you guys printer on demand, ship the printer out with your team, they set it up, print it, and you guys are the ones ready to capitalize on that. There's so few printers here, you would be the only people in the region who could service the clients.
For sure. We do have some competition, which I'm really excited about. A lot of people say no pardon me, to competition. But my father-in-law always tells this story about how the burger joint in a small town, he thinks, man, I start a burger joint and this thing's going to go off crazy. Well, very few people start to show up. Well, he builds a burger joint right across the street. All of a sudden, now there's all kinds of competition, businesses flowing.
Okay, I like that.
Their money has, the revenue started to increase because people see, oh, I'm going to go here. Well, I'm just going to go there.
That worked in Philadelphia. They got 2 cheesesteak places, Pat's and Gino's, right?
Oh, yeah?
Kitty cornered. They're famous.
Beautiful, delicious cheesesteaks. It's the only, not the only reason I'd go back to Philly, but
that's
definitely on the high side for reasoning.
For sure. Yeah, and I guess it's competition. The second you have a client that's getting bids from 2 different 3D printing companies, that's all it takes to cross that line.
For sure. And I've learned through my years of watching my grandfather and doing this myself, that the best laid projections are rarely what flushes out in the end. But we can definitely, with this, find our, reduce some of those extra points of failure.
There's a lot of teams that will say, like, it's cheap, look at the estimates, and they're so confident in the estimates, and that's 100% of the time someone who's that sure of the estimates has no construction experience and never held a hammer.
For sure, and we're not in the business of being the lowest bidder and putting out a product that is equal to that cost.
I mean, hopefully
we're wanting
it could be one day.
Yeah. We would love to. Not to say that we don't want to build affordably, because that is our goal.
You just have your head screwed on straight.
For sure. Our goal, not outside of just the build, is a better customer experience, a better home buying experience. I've sold homes as a realtor. I've built homes for folks and sold them as a realtor also. Cool. But ultimately, in my experience, and one of the things that led me to even start in real estate on my own, was my buying experience originally was not great. I was misled. There were a lot of potential points of leverage that were left on the table for me. And when I realized that, after the sale and owning the property for a little while, I started to realize, okay, well, we're gonna, truth in building, truth in our work, and integrity are where we're gonna start from. Coming from contribution, giving, our hearts start with giving. We still want to make a good living. We all have families, and like I said, I have a newborn, so we got another one, but that doesn't mean that we have to burn this wildfire. We can do a slow burn. I think we can really grow this industry well.
So let's talk about the future and hypotheticals a little bit again. How would your ideal buying process look like for your customer?
Okay, so thank you for asking, because we actually have been working on this really exhaustively over the last month and a half in what we can do and what we can't do. So like we were talking about before, you come to me, I want to build a house, Jason. Excellent. I can't wait to get on the drawing board and the whiteboard and start working this out with you. We sit down with myself, the builder, the design team, and the customer, and we flush out a really good sketch, a design, your hopes, wishes, and dreams from a questionnaire. Really detailed questionnaire. We find out not only what you want to build, but kind of how you live, right? Mm-hmm. Not being too invasive, but really just, this is a home you're going to live in, hopefully with your family for an extended period of time, right? So we want to make sure that the home that you are designing is something that you want to live in, not just a really neat idea that you've been working on for a while. So we take all of the concepts, all of those ideas, and we put it in a rough sketch. We get approval from that point from the customer. Yep, that looks great. All right, moves to the next section, and we get more into the nitty gritty. The architect, the builder, and the engineer now get together. What kind of house can we build based off of their wants, needs, and do withouts, right?
And from there, I guess it's a pretty typical construction process. It's just you're really being careful qualifying the design phase because it's so new.
For sure. Well, and also it's exciting, right? Curved walls. What? We see these things, but a lot of time you see a curved wall in a house that's a higher price point, right? Because it costs a lot to do and make look pretty. And so we're able to do those. Some of the other elements, like printing the house to suit sunlight, where it affects the house during the day, depending on the climate or the environment that you're in, how it affects the wind direction, especially in some of the coastal houses that we're hoping to do in the next few years. So in getting that early and showing kind of those options and really kind of fleshing that out right early is really going to help out, so that when the engineer, the architect, and the builder, they're able to save time also because they have really narrowed down exactly what is capable and possible with this printer. We already have an idea. Thankfully, we have a really great architect and an engineer to support, to give us an idea on wall sections and certain things, not to get too deep into it, but what we can do now and what support is required for different expanses of wall, right? So we take that, get approval from that sketch from the customer, and then simultaneously or concurrently we have the customer over to interior design and electrical and lighting so that we can flesh out the inside. And then we take those designs depending on, those wants, right? And then put that into the design, render it, throw it in a VR headset, and allow you to walk through your home.
Sure. And
do your blue tape walkthrough, right? Your initial blue tape walkthrough in there.
And every house has to be this color blue, right?
I've seen some comments, and it's apparently an atrocious color, but
I think it's great.
I love it. Our company name was originally based off of R2D2 anyway, so it's blue and it's Empire Fleet Blue. So it's got a nice little mix of Star Wars in there. Don't come at me, George.
It's cool. You can just do colors. You could do any color.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can be, you want to be careful in what you do with the mix because you add liquid. Coloring
Chemical.
Definitely changes the composition. Powder would probably be a little bit better option, but also I think I used, granted this is out in the middle of the farmland or whatever, but I think I used 2 5-gallon jugs on this house, interior and exterior. It's 500 square feet, so not too bad. And you're eliminating drywall and the moisture barrier on the outside, in extra labor. So from there, in the VR headset, final approval from the customer, this is great, or we need to make a couple of changes. I didn't realize that the window and the door here were so close to each other, but also we really like to sit here and watch the TV from here, from the kitchen,
yeah, sure.
And right near layouts. And so we take that, get final approval from the customer, and then we send that over to the plan. We run it through our final checks, of course. Send it over to the planning department, building department, get approval there, bring it back to us, and then run it through our G-code, run it through the print path verifiers and checkers, and then after that it's build the house and some keys and smiles is what we call it, and hopefully happy customer living in one of our houses very soon.
Yeah, it's not to be, it's a challenge and an accomplishment to be achieved. Certainly, not an easy thing to do, but somebody's got to change the world. So.
For sure. I'm really grateful to be in this position. My life changed about 10, 11 years ago, and I have made every opportunity to grow from that point to get to here. Not alone, you know, but to be here in this position, to realize not only a 10 to 15 year dream, but to create stability for home buyers, and ultimately, this sounds a little idyllic, but to create a cultural shift. That's our grander goal. You drive down the cost with innovation. We're able to provide a better product, not only on the front end, insurance, your utilities, cost of home ownership is pretty high. A lot of people forget about that as soon as you sign those papers and you move in and you've been there for a couple of years, and you realize that that first year of warranty on your builder's warranty and your second year, oh crap, man, this is all on me now.
Yeah, those are big challenges you set out to solve, but with big challenges comes big rewards. So
absolutely.
What was there an occasion 10 years ago that is a notable, what shifted your mindset?
I think it was probably the second time I was homeless. I was once when I was a teenager and once when I was an adult. And both times, I'd say first time was really me being a dumb teenager and not accepting help. But the second one is where a lot of people find themselves these days and not to get too far into it, but where we're all just one mistake or maybe compounding 2 or 3 mistakes away from being homeless or being in a point where our home can be taken away from us. We've all seen this in 2007 and 2008 during the recession, and then over the last couple of years, definitely in the last year, as some of these moratoriums on evictions and foreclosures have started to go.
And right now, I mean, the economy's shifting, the stock market's going down, and they're increasing interest rates. So echoes of that time seem to be repeating. So I think it's a really important message that you're sharing right now. My story is no different than anybody else's story. And I think what really, if you want to narrow it down, is I was pedicabbing at the time and seeing really amazing, intelligent, good people living in the back of a warehouse behind bikes and the carriages that carry, they carry, and then seeing and talking to folks that are staying up under a bridge or staying out in an encampment or living out in the greenbelt, in a tent. I am one payment away from getting my driver's license. I hate to see it. That is what drives me every single day that we do this. Every time, maybe not every single day, right? But I'd say every time we get a gut punch, my gut punch in a delay in our production or in our supply chain is nothing compared to someone who is either not afforded the opportunity to own a home or to stay in their home or have a safe structure to live in and thrive and grow from. Yeah, that's great to have something like that to really give you strength in those challenging moments of the business. And the flip side of that coin is that if you are able to deliver on that in the coming years, it's going to be really beneficial for you and your family, that you'll never have to be anywhere near a situation like that again. And that's kind of the beauty of capitalism, is that the challenge and the struggle breeds the desire to improve it, not only for yourself but for other people too.
Absolutely. I'm I don't think I'm anything special in that regard. I think credit to my dad, who told me that you only get one name and you better protect it. And so in an effort to maintain that and not become a statistic, I found my way out. But you know, we're all, like I said, one. What is it? The average savings account has less than $400 in it,
or something like the
or
vast
something
majority of
in that
people
range,
live paycheck
yeah.
to paycheck. There's so many scary statistics. It definitely is a lot of people impacted by those situations.
Absolutely, and COVID has definitely made that exponentially more, I guess, obvious that people had time to spend with their family. I had time to spend with my family. I was working, you know, it was tough, but having the time to spend with your family during that time really gave me the perspective that I needed to not only work for myself, but for others to find a life-work balance versus a work-life balance. And I think that coming from that, you can actually be more productive. You know, there's a direct correlation between productivity and rest. If you don't have enough, you're able to go pretty, you know, we're adaptable, but you're only able to go so far.
How long
and then that
do you meet your wife?
About 6 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
7 years ago, actually.
Had you like substantially climbed out from your lows and you were like back on your feet, or?
I had just really kind of found my footing at that time, and I was probably, I think at that point when I met her, I was a year into real estate and doing leases, and had just found some footing in a higher price point in real estate.
Cool.
And selling. So
in a job with no cap.
And right, and you know, it's there for you if you want to work at it. For some it comes easy, and others you gotta hustle. And if you're able to or have that drive, I think you can get there. And even if you don't have that drive, find someone who does.
That was my problem with some construction jobs that I had as a kid. There are some people who don't want you to work as hard as you possibly can on the job site.
Yeah.
Other laborers who want to just keep it at a reasonable pace or something, and I mean that kills me. That's why the real estate agent job is so great, because you get the fruits of your labor, and
it is true, and someone's gonna probably hate me for it, but it is a lot of work on our end, but it is administrative work, and especially working both sides of it as the builder and the agent.
I mean, logistically,
selling the house, right? A lot of that is not easy work, because there's definitely a lot of hard work in it. But
if there's a buyer and a seller, it's easy. But getting to that point is not
getting
easy.
to that point is definitely not easy. I think it's just it is a lot of project management in multiple fields.
I don't know why anybody would have a problem with real estate agents. You don't have to use them. You can, if you want to go rough it yourself, you can, and you'll probably get screwed or not get the fair price, or maybe you make it work. But it's a real job. I don't know. I don't think it's a controversial thing, or is it?
On the flip side, no, I don't think so. Maybe we're a little jaded here in Austin, because they went from, I don't know, like 6,000 licensed active agents to close to 20,000
Wow.
over the last 5-6 years.
Well, I think that'll
as
go down.
we've grown. You know, same with this industry. It'll start to weed out some of the folks that aren't really dedicated to the.
I don't know if that'll happen in this industry because it's so new.
Well, not for a long time. But
I haven't seen anyone give up yet, except for Contour Crafting stepped away for a long time. Now they're even getting back in it.
I'm glad you said that, because what is amazing to me is we are now in a place where they wanted to be back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Right? All of that intelligence, that forethought and pre-work that they've done, and fleshing all this stuff out in the numbers and in the materials, and now with the tool to implement that, a lot of people think that we're in the cutting edge, and we really are, but I think we're more in the cutting edge of the application of it rather than the concept and the theory.
Yeah, I mean, I almost look at it like the internet. Like, if you guys are early users of the internet, you might pick it up, put it down, but you're not going to not use the internet again.
yeah.
Eventually, you're going to use the internet.
Right. Now we all are, kids included. I remember as NASA, I think we were talking with the International Space Station when I was in middle school when the internet first came out.
My dog is DMing some babes he met at the park yesterday.
No better wingman than a good-looking Labrador, right?
Yeah, when he's not jumping in ponds.
Yeah, exactly.
Jason, so people excited about this technology that want to work with you, maybe they want to be clients, maybe they want to ask you questions. How can they reach out to you and learn from you and prospect, buy from you?
Of course, on all of the social media, Facebook, Instagram, we're R Squared Texas. You can find us on LinkedIn also. But for, I'd say probably a quicker response, info@r2-texas.com, or myself, Jason at r2-texas.com, or our website, r2-texas.com.
Link down in the description. All right, thanks for taking the time to talk to me today. Is there anything else we should touch on?
No, just be excited for what's coming. We are, and here we go.
All right, you keep building, I'll keep filming, and we'll catch up next time.
Excellent. Good to see you again.